Today we're here with Mara Junot. Mara and I did a session yesterday that was very interesting and something that comes up a fair amount. We had this script that because of lawyers, because of English as second language, people being part of the audience, talking about diversity, but from a point of view of managers. And the whole point is to be able to speak to somebody and make it sound like you're talking to them, yet you have copy that for various reasons has to be written in a certain way, and it's not necessarily conversational. How do you get yourself in that mindset? You have to have
Yeah.
something you do in the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I try to keep in the back of my mind that, this is a lot of copy, number one. And so it needs to be sustainable to the ear. And I think the best way to approach that is trying to always come across with as conversational. I mean, I know that's the word that's just beaten to death in this industry, but honestly, yeah, as conversationally as possible. Also, because, we have people who English is not their first language. I tend to be a fast talker, so in the back of my mind, I'm always trying to just slow it down a little bit, relax, envision myself like sitting on a bench with somebody sometimes, maybe, at a park, whatever it is, just a more relaxed sort of scenario where I can chill out instead of like, hey, let me tell you about this amazing thing. That's just never going to work for anybody, especially with the type of language that we have in scripts like these. I just try to imagine that I'm sitting with somebody, think about the actual, topic at hand, which in this case was, diversity, equity, and inclusion from a manager's perspective, like you said, and just how I would speak to somebody, friendly but carefully and not in a way that's condescending. That can be a little tricky too, right? The more you slow down and sound deliberate, you don't want to sound like you're talking to a child. And just remember that this is a person. It can be read more dynamically in terms of tone. It doesn't have to be just straight across and stiff.
You're fantastic at that.
It's a work in progress, though. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I still have to remind myself of these things.
We can talk in musical terms that I said, slow down 5, 6 beats a minute when we spoke in melodic terms. Is that something that you've always done with this kind of thing? Is it innate, or is that something that you almost had to translate like, oh, this is like music and you had to translate it?
I've always been a very musical person, come from a musical family. I play, like piano by ear, I play flute by ear. And so I can easily recognize that the voice, or, our instrument is musical as well. I think from that standpoint, when we talk of like slowing things down or doing things in a certain rhythm, I can totally relate to that. But I don't necessarily look at this, the copy and like, oh, this will be 4/4 time, right? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not super left brain in that regard in terms of the terminology and stuff, but I absolutely do constantly think in terms of how musical is this sounding, because when we're having a normal conversation, like right now, my voice is going up, when I have a different idea, my pacing will change and things like that. And so I try to remember that this is all a song, and having a conversation with somebody is a song. And the more you can kind of keep that in the back of your mind, I think the more you can just relax and kind of let the song happen, and also be aware for when your song is just starting to sound a little too monotone because you're just getting caught up in reading the words.
When you were performing the script, you had the sense of actually being interested in what you were talking about. So it wasn't really like you're schooling people, I'm the authority. It was really like, this is a problem we can all solve together.
It really is a mindset shift, because when you first are looking at it, it's a lot of words, like this script in particular, there's notes all over in terms of what's happening on the screen and this and that. And at first it can be a lot to absorb, but I think we did maybe a pass or two of, some of the paragraphs. It was a few paragraphs, I think, before I really started to get my rhythm. But once it kind of started to sink in, like, oh, okay, I really get what's happening here. Like, I'm talking to a manager and really trying to, as a friend, really show them how to be sensitive to the fact that they're going to be working with people from all different backgrounds, and to basically how to not come across as a, can I say dick?
I think you just did.
Keeping that in mind, it made it super relatable. And it's just like, okay, I really get what we're doing now. And I can envision myself just talking to a buddy.
We just solved the whole DEI thing. It's like, hi, my name is Mara Junot. Don't be a dick. Thank you very much.
With that.
Excellent. Mara, thank you so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.